Welcome to This Week in East Brunswick. This week, the Challenger Division of East Brunswick's Little League held their first awards program at the Ramada Renaissance. Children with developmental disabilities receive specialized treatment at a facility in New Brunswick. And Doug Halverson brings us part 3 of his series on alcohol studies. These stories and more are coming up, including a gardening tip from Pegi Ballister-Howells, more information on measles, mumps, and rubella, a new exhibit on display at the East Brunswick Public Library, and our regular council review. But first, next week's programming on Channel 8 includes Lenore Kulik Monday morning at 10 with Look Great, Feel Great, and Story Time for Tots at 10:30 with stories from the library. Tuesday evening at 7, watch In Print, a show produced by the City of Beverly Hills, California. At 7:30, join John Megliaro to explore the Challenger Division of Little League Baseball. Wednesday at 7:30, Dolly Vasta goes on the air with radio personality Jack Ellery. The Arts follows at 8 with an in-depth look at plays in the park. Thursday, watch This Week in East Brunswick at 7 and 8, and at 7:30, join Sandy Landman for an updated look at fashion techniques on EB People. Watch the Channel 8 Community Bulletin Board for community announcements.
Awards are important to any athlete, but no more so today than at the Ramada Renaissance, where the Challenger Division of the East Brunswick Little League is celebrating its first award ceremony. With me is Bob Hops, a member of the executive team of the Challenger League. Bob, how important is today?
Well, we've been all looking forward to this. I think me as much as the kids. It's their first complete season, and it's our first opportunity to reward them for their participation and their play.
Bob, tell me a little bit about the awards banquet itself.
Well, the Ramada has helped us out in setting up a buffet, and we have about 180 to 200 people here today. We have the Challenger children who played, we have their buddies, we have their brothers and sisters, and their parents. We have as well 3 members of the town council, people from the recreation center, and members of our board of directors are visiting us today.
Bob, you got to be pleased with the turnout and what it means maybe for next year.
Yeah, I'm really enthusiastic. These people have supported us all along, the parents and the kids, and I think we're only missing 1 or 2, and at this time of year with camp and everything, I can understand why they're missing, but we'll get their awards to them as well.
Well, Bob, thanks so much.
Thank you, John.
Also with me is Jay Lieberman, and Jay is a member of the Challenger League and one of the young men who had an outstanding season this year, and I'm just going to squat down a little bit. Jay, tell me a little bit about your participation in the league.
Well, I was a first baseman for the gray team. You see, there were 2 teams. One team had red hats and one team had gray hats.
Okay.
And I was our first baseman, and I switched off with a friend of mine at first base named Steven Weinraben. When I wasn't playing first, I'd play short center. And then there was one play, if I remember correctly, where I had lots of fun, where I fell down.
Yeah. And
my buddy picked up the ball, threw it to me, I dropped it, picked it up again, and I had fallen on the base, so I got the guy out anyway.
All right, great play.
I mean, that shows that we really worked together well, and I don't know, I really had fun. It was my first opportunity to actually play baseball, and it was
fun, right?
It was really fun.
Jason, let me ask you about your buddy. How important is your buddy to you, and what part do they play in the game?
They're important because if I couldn't get a ball or something, they'd get it and then hand it to me and I'd make the play.
Okay.
Or if I fell down, they'd help me up. He'd help me up. Or it was just fun being around him. For every minute of the game, he was there. Someone to talk to when I was off the field and someone to work with when I was on the field, and it's fun.
Great. Jason, thanks so much. Again, the Challenger League is for special kids, special athletes, and today they celebrate their first award ceremony, and we hope that it's not only the first, but one of many to come. Much success, Bob, to you and Jason in the years ahead. For This Week in East Brunswick, I'm John Megliaro.
The Laurie Neurodevelopmental Institute is a state-funded agency operated under the auspices of Rutgers Medical School and located in Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital. We asked Executive Director Mary Lotes about the programs offered by the Institute.
Well, the Laurie Neurodevelopmental Institute has two programs. The program that you visited today was our early intervention program. It's a program geared towards providing services to children and their families under the age of 3 who have a developmental problem. The focus of the program is to really help the parents understand the child's abilities as well as the areas where they have difficulties. We have a professional staff that consists of a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, a teacher of the handicapped, professional nurses, social workers, speech pathologists, and administrators. And that combination of professionals work closely with the parents in developing a program that's individual for each child. The children are referred to the program in a variety of ways. Children can be referred by physicians. They can be referred by other professionals who may be seeing the child for evaluation. They can be referred from neonatal intensive care units. They can be referred by social service agencies. They can be referred by visiting nurse associations. And if a parent themselves is concerned, they can just call us. We do not need a professional referral. The children are seen initially for an assessment by the team, and then the team evaluates the child and makes recommendations for the amount of services the child needs. Every child receives a minimum of one group program session of 2 hours a week. So all of the children come in once a week for 2 hours, and then depending upon their special needs, some of them may come back for other kinds of services, or we may work in conjunction with other community agencies to provide additional services. We feel very strongly that the success of our program really is hinging on how comfortable parents are with our recommendations. In order to facilitate that, part of every group, there is a session with parents facilitated by a social worker. And the way those groups operate are pretty much dependent on the way the parents would like to see them go. They can talk about concerns, they can talk about therapy, they can share information. So the parents really have a format to meet other parents and hopefully support each other. The parents in our program have even gotten to the point where many of them have formed such strong friendships that they meet after the program. They've rotated going to different people's houses. They've babysat for each other. They've even got involved in some activities to raise some funds for the program. So the parents are an integral part of our program, and we feel without them, really, what we do is not very beneficial. We have to have their full support. The children, when they're very, very young, the most obvious thing that people will see is often a motor delay, because that's what happens to children early on in life. The most obvious things are motor delays. Secondarily, then, will be maybe communication or what we call cognitive or thinking problems. Parents know their babies very well, and very often it is the parent who's the first one that notices a problem. The parent may take different avenues. They may go to the pediatrician or go to a specialist to see if there is a real reason to be concerned, and at that point they then get referred for evaluation. Any really concern of a parent should be looked at because they do know their babies so well. Some babies we know off the bat are going to have problems if they're born with a diagnosable condition such as Down syndrome. There are certain medical conditions we know will have developmental consequences for babies. And some babies we know have rough courses because they're born too soon. Certain premature babies we know have very difficult courses if they've had a hemorrhage in the brain, or if they've been born very, very early and they have immature lungs. A variety of medical conditions. Unfortunately, most of the children in our program don't wind up with a medical diagnosis. By and large, you'll see that most of the children in our program have a diagnosis of developmental delay. When a child reaches school age, there is a very nice system in place for transitioning. The early intervention programs contact the district that the child lives in, and the parents as well contact the district the child lives in. We begin to work about 6 months before the child leaves early intervention on what services the child needs, whether the school system can provide those services, or whether they feel the child may need to be in another special program. We write a plan with the parent that gets sent to the school and then gets implemented by the school. In New Jersey is very fortunate. There has been a nice transition between early intervention and the preschool programs in the state. We have another program in the Laurie Institute, which is a child evaluation center and is geared for children from 3 to 21. And yes, we do evaluate preschoolers. We evaluate school-age children, and we see children with a multitude of problems. the younger children tend to present with more communication problems, and then secondarily behavioral concerns. The older children tend to present more with learning problems in school. They're having trouble with certain subjects, or they're having trouble with processes. We also handle the children that have multiple problems. A child may have a chronic disease, and the school may not be sure how much the chronic disease is impacting on the child's ability to learn. We've also seen some children who've just been in the system for a long time, and the parents are frustrated and want to know where they're going with this child in the future. We'll see any child that there's a legitimate reason to see, and we try and work very objectively. One of the things that we feel is beneficial in that with the older children not having a service component here, we can offer an objective opinion to parents. We can give them our best ideas about what the child's strengths are and what their needs are, and then refer them back to the community for the services. The Institute is operated under the auspices of the Department of Pediatrics of Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, but we are supported by the State Departments of Health and Education and Human Services. Our early intervention program funds flow from the Division of Special Education, as do many early intervention programs in New Jersey. Our Child Evaluation Center is funded directly through the State Department of Health through their Maternal Child Health Block grant.
What does that mean in terms of expenses for parents?
The early intervention programs right now are free to families. The basic services, the team assessment and the developmental intervention is free. We do have, being in a medical center, the luxury of linking people up for medical assessment, for diagnostic workup. There is a sliding fee scale process available to any family that needs that help. The Child Evaluation Center does have a sliding fee scale system as well, and our philosophy is to not turn anybody away. We will see any child regardless of ability to pay.
For more information about the programs offered by the Institute, call 937-8758.
Welcome. I'm Doug Halverson, Director of Consultation and Education at the Middlesex County Mental Health Clinic. This is the third in our 5-part series on current issues in the treatment of alcohol problems. With us is Dr. Barbara McCready, Acting Director of the Rutgers Center for Alcohol Studies. Dr. McCready, thanks for being here. Barbara, how can one of the member of a couple, their drinking impact on the relationship?
Okay, it really can have severe and devastating effects. I think when people get together and when they marry, you take vows to be together till death do you part, and you talk about in sickness and in health and those kinds of things. And people, most people when they get married take those vows very seriously. As an alcohol problem develops, at the beginning, the family may not even be aware that there's a problem, but as a family begins to be aware that there's a problem, their first reaction often is to try to take care of the person, to help the person. They think of it as sickness the way they would think of other sickness. So, if the woman in the family is drinking heavily, her husband may feel, well, she's under a lot of stress, or she's been depressed, or her parents have been ill, and I'm really going to help her out here and kind of take care of her and take over for a while. And what happens by doing that is that as a partner or other members of the family begin to take care of the person, it sort of facilitates the alcoholism's developing, because a person only begins to recognize they have a problem when bad things begin to happen as a result of their drinking.
So if family members can keep bad things from happening to the person with the drinking problem, then the drinking will be prolonged.
Right. And because alcohol is a drug that can cause physical dependence, and it causes emotional and psychological changes in a person, as they continue to drink, the problem gets more severe. And then you start to see incredible problems in families. You see physical violence, you see emotional abuse, and you see other things that are even more subtle. A father who has blackouts when he drinks, and he says to his son, I'm going to be at your Little League game on Saturday. Saturday comes around and his son says, Dad, are you ready to go to the Little League game? And he'll say, what game? And the son says, well, you promised you were going to go. And then the dad says, no, I didn't. You didn't tell me anything about that. So those kinds of things happen where the family they start wondering, you know, am I crazy? Is he crazy? And people start, you know, not understanding what's going on. Alcohol is also a substance that creates a lot of emotional lability or kind of up and downness. So depending on how much alcohol a person has in them or how little, they may be high and happy and, you know, exuberant, or they may be, you know, very anxious and tense and irritable, or they may be angry and nasty. And so the family doesn't know what to predict. They don't know what to expect from moment to moment or from day to day.
Barbara, what are some of the unique features in treating a couple in which one member has a drinking problem?
Okay. I believe very strongly that because alcohol affects the family so much, that you should have the couple together, they should be seen together, and that the person who's doing the drinking needs help to stop drinking and learn how to stay sober. The partner really needs to learn how to cope differently with alcohol, get out of the role of being a protector, learn how to talk about the feelings that he or she has about the drinking and the problems that it's caused, learn how to cope differently if the person drinks again. And the couple really needs to learn how to change their relationship, because all of the things that have happened over time really create incredible rifts in communication, in their ability to solve problems together, and usually an awful lot of problems have developed over time. So the couple needs to help to kind of learn how to get back to those things, to learn how to talk to each other, to express feelings to each other, to share with each other, to go out and have fun together. I mean, you know, these couples really lose these kinds of things.
So reparative work on the couple generally.
Yeah, I think that's really a critical part of the treatment, as well as dealing directly with the alcohol.
Dr. McCready, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
For further information from Dr. McCready about various treatment programs for alcohol problems, you may reach her at 745-8688, 745-8688. I'm Doug Halverson. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Peggy Ballister-Howells, and welcome to my backyard. We have here a new project, and this one has been kind of fun. This is a planter box, a rather large planter box with a trellis behind. Now this is a very useful kind of a thing if you want to decorate a deck or hide an ugly wall, or even for privacy screening. And we have here this trellising that's purchased already pre-made at any of your lumber yards, and the box was built out of 6x1s. Now the inside has a number of holes drilled in for drainage, which of course is always important, and it's been treated with waterproofing material so that it will be less likely to rot. The outside is painted white with outside house paint, so it should last for a few years like this. Now we would want to line the bottom with some noodles and then fill it up with soil. For the back part, it would be ideal, of course, to be able to have something to grow up the trellis. In a sunny location, you would have a number of options. Sunbergia is my favorite, or a small vine-like black-eyed Susan. But that needs full sun, and in this particular location, I'm afraid we don't have enough sun. And there's very few, if any, trellis-type plants that will tolerate the shade. So as an option, we have these kind of planter pots. And there are also more decorative ones made out of terracotta that are also available. But as you can see, they're regular hanging basket-type pots, but they're flat on one side. So let's see if we could arrange one of these on here. Okay, now they have these wires that attach, and there's little holes. And you would just put them in and bend it up on one side, and then do the same on the hole on the other side. Okay, now we have this hanging pot here, and we can bend this part to hang it wherever we would like. And that should work nicely there. I have decided that I want 3 on each of these trellises. There's going to be 3 of these trellis units. And I think maybe this one would be very nice down here. Now the 2 others will go balanced someplace, and for this middle one, I have decided to put a spider plant. Now I'm trying to keep a red and white theme with red begonias, which we have here, that'll go in the other 2 pots on the trellis, and red begonias for the planter box with white caladiums. So the red and the white and the green, I think, will be very pretty. Let's see if we can pot this one up in here. Use a regular, good quality potting soil. I've added a little bit of compost to it. And we'll get some on the bottom here. Now with the begonias, the ones that I have here in pots are already in bloom. For the planter box itself, I'm going to use ones that are a little smaller. You can see I have a whole flat here. It's going to have to be watered regularly. Now that's one of the problems, one of the things we would be concerned about. These pots are small and will not contain a lot of water, so you want to make sure that they are not allowed to get dry, because they will dry out quickly. Oh, we can see we've got the roots on the bottom here. Spider plants are so tough, they don't mind if you break off a few roots. Not all plants are like that. Okay, it has a pretty thick root system here, makes it a little tough to get out of the pot, but it should also be nice and healthy. All right, let's see if we can stick this one in here. I chose the spider plants because, number one, they are tolerant of low light conditions, and because of the babies, and we've already got some hanging out here, it'll give sort of a draping and nice hanging down effect. I'd like to cover as much of the trellis as possible. Other good suggestions for a shady spot that will hang down would be lobelia. And another suggestion would be impatiens, of course. Now, they don't hang down, but they sure do get bushy and add an awful lot of color. Just want to get a little bit more on the side here. I think that'll do it. And we'll put it right there. And next time you see this, it should be covered in red and white. We'll see you next week here in my backyard.
Hello, my name is Miriam Cohen. I am the nursing supervisor for the Middlesex County Health Department. As you are all aware, the increasing number of cases of measles in the state of New Jersey and across the nation has been the topic of conversation in many professional areas. I would like to tell you a little bit about what we think has been happening. There have been several theories promulgated as to why we are seeing an increase in measles. One, because we have been seeing measles in children too young to have been vaccinated. The recommended age for vaccination is 15 months. Two, there has been some concern about vaccine failure, so that we have children who are not adequately protected. With any vaccine, there are always a number of children who are not protected after they receive it. Three, there has been some question about waning immunity, meaning that as time has passed, the level of protection against the disease has decreased. Therefore, you are seeing recommendations for the administration of second dose measles, mumps, and rubella. Why the recommendation measles, mumps, and rubella and not a single dose of measles vaccine? When I asked this very same question of health professionals, I was told that if we are seeing an increase in measles cases now, perhaps we will see an increase in mumps cases or rubella cases in the next few years. Therefore, if we immunize with measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, we will be preventing this from occurring. Measles, mumps, rubella vaccine is a safe vaccine, and second dose administration is recommended, as has been discussed in earlier health spots. I would suggest that if you have any questions about second dose measles, mumps, rubella for your child, or perhaps for yourself if you were born after 1976 or 1957, that you discuss this with your child's physician or with your own physician. If you wish to ask any member of the Middlesex County Health Department a question about vaccine, you may call the Nursing Division at 521-1402 or the Middlesex County Health Department main office at 828-8100.
On display at the library this month are the works of East Brunswick resident Sheldon Nadleman. Sheldon combines photography with art by painting acrylic borders around the mats of his black and white and color photographs. Much of his subject matter comes from managing the Terminal Bar in New York City in the 70s. The artist says he's just trying to show people what's going on the best way he knows how, by putting it down on paper. Nadleman has exhibited his works at the library 3 times in the past 14 years. This, his 4th exhibit, will be on display at the library until the end of August. At Monday night's council meeting, the council voted in favor of placing 2 non-binding referendums on the November ballot. One referendum would ask voters their opinion on the possibility of acquiring more land for the township. The land would be used for open space, public recreation, or to add to the Civic Center grounds. Councilman Richard Walling expressed some concern.
The resolution talks about authorizing non-binding referendum pursuant to New Jersey statutes, etc., on open space, and then the first paragraph again repeats a non-binding referendum on open space. And when you look at the question, but more particularly the explanation, it seems very apparent to me that one of the major purposes of this money will be to acquire expansion of grounds for the Civic Center complex. In my estimation, that's not open space. However, I am confident that a future council, this council or perhaps a future council, will also utilize that money for true open space purposes and not solely for the expansion of the Civic Center complex. Thank you.
The second referendum asks township voters if they want the council to lobby the State League of Municipalities to amend the state constitution to allow residents to vote on state tax increases. Councilman Oskowski proposed the referendum.
And ask the League of Municipalities to lobby the state through a referendum to have all increases in budgets, increases in taxes on the income taxes or sales taxes be voted on by the residents. I think that the residents of this town and residents throughout New Jersey want to take a stand. I think this is a place to start.
That's all for now. Thanks for watching.